12 labors later, Hercules is exhausted, covered in scars, and somehow more famous than ever. And he's still standing, not exactly clean, not exactly sane, but definitely unforgettable. The monsters are gone, but the chores made him immortal, as we're still telling his story thousands of years later. Well, because history always remembers the one who actually finishes the list. Maybe that's the real labor he conquered, staying relevant. It's strange when you think about it. These tales were invented in a world without electricity, without Google Maps, without coffee shops on every corner. And yet somehow, they still feel familiar. Hercules wrestling a lion, dragging a dog from the underworld, scooping manure from a stable. They're grand, yes, but they're also deeply human. Struggles, chores, burdens that feel endless until eventually they're done. That's why he's stuck around in our imagination. Hercules wasn't perfect, far from it. He made mistakes, lost his temper, broke things that couldn't be fixed. He killed, he regretted, he tried again. And through it all, he carried on, shouldering whatever absurd challenge was dropped in front of him. That's a very mortal thing, isn't it? To fail spectacularly, but keep moving forward anyway. His labors became more than myths. They became metaphors. Writers in ancient Greece saw him as the model of endurance. Medieval scholars folded him into Christian allegory, imagining him as a kind of pagan saint of persistence. Renaissance artists painted him on ceilings, muscles exaggerated, making him a symbol of human ambition. And even today, his name shows up everywhere, in movies, in gym logos, in random energy drink brands. Hercules has been reduced, reused, recycled, and yet he's never really gone. Why? Because his labors resonate. Who hasn't had their own version of the Nemean lion, some impossible problem with skin too tough to pierce, or their own Augean stables, a mess so overwhelming you just want to burn it all down? Or even a Cerberus, that personal shadow you wrestle with, trying to keep it under control without destroying it. People may not literally fight hydras or chase golden deer, but life always finds a way to throw its monsters at us. And Hercules' story, in its clumsy, tragic, exaggerated way, reminds us that we're not the first to be exhausted by impossible tasks. Someone else long ago felt the same weight. And that's the quiet influence of these myths. They aren't instructions. They aren't moral handbooks. They're mirrors. They show us exaggerated versions of our own struggles, dressed up in lions, giants, and three-headed dogs. Hercules' labors endure not because they were real in a historical sense, but because they're real in the emotional sense. They tell us life is heavy, ridiculous, often unfair, and yet we carry it anyway. So tonight, as we close the book on these 12 labors, maybe the lesson isn't about strength or glory or even victory. Maybe it's just about persistence, about the act of showing up again and again, no matter how absurd the task, about knowing you will never fully finish. But that doesn't mean you stop. And in that quiet persistence, Hercules lives on, not just in marble statues or epic poetry, but in us, in the way we keep trying, in the way we shoulder one more day. So, let's set the story down here. The labors are done. The monsters are quiet. The night is long, but restful. And Hercules, whether myth, man, or memory, will keep walking beside us, carrying his club, draped in his lion skin, reminding us in his silent, stubborn way that endurance is its own kind of heroism. And that, my friends, is the long, messy saga of Hercules and his 12 labors. A story that was supposed to be punishment, but somehow turned into the greatest PR campaign in Greek mythology. Because if you think about it, nobody's really quoting King Eurystheus today. But Hercules, he's on lunchboxes. He's a Disney movie. He's the one you name a protein shake after. Talk about winning the long game. And maybe that's why we still tell his story. Not because we expect to bump into a three-headed dog on our commute, but because deep down, we all know what it feels like to be handed a list of impossible chores by someone in power who probably hates us. Hercules just makes it look, well, not easier, but at least more entertaining. So if you've made it this far, through lions, hydras, bird problems, and one truly disastrous stable cleaning episode, first of all, congratulations. You've basically survived your own 13th labor. And second, if you enjoyed wandering through this marathon of mythical messes, you know the drill. Go ahead and give this a like. Maybe share it with someone who enjoys tragic muscle-bound heroes. And of course, subscribe if you want more history stories that are equal parts fascinating and slightly ridiculous. Because Hercules isn't the only one who had to deal with questionable family drama, impossible tasks, and a suspicious number of barn animals. History is full of them, and we'll be talking about plenty more. So, until next time, stay curious, stay mildly sarcastic, and remember, if someone asks you to clean out a stable that hasn't been touched in 30 years, just say no.